What is up, everybody? I am super excited for today's video because I will be making sausage. This is my first time trying to make sausage. I grew up eating a whole lot of Polish sausage, so I'm excited to finally try it out. Now, I've watched a bunch of different videos, talked to a bunch of people who know a lot more about sausage than me, so hopefully this process will work out. If you're watching this, you're probably a little bit curious about what it's like to make sausage or what it takes, so we're going to take that journey together. Now, there's a bunch of different steps and processes and ways to make sausage. I'm taking the approach of a one-day sausage, so I'm going to do all this in one day, and well, we're going to see how it turns out. Good or bad, we'll figure it out. First things first, let's talk about the meat. So I've got two cuts of meat. One is a pork shoulder, one is a beef chuck roast. My plan for the sausage is to do a 50-50 mix of pork and beef. Now, both of these cuts are a good ratio of lean and fat, so it should be a nice and tender, juicy sausage. So to start, we're gonna cut these up and get them ready for the grinder. Now, in my last video, we made those homemade ground meat hamburgers, so I know how to use the grinder now. It's actually not as difficult as I thought it was going to be. So let's start with our meat. First up, we've got the beef chuck roast. So as you can see, this thing is a really nice ratio of kind of lean and fat. You got all this intramuscular fat that's going to render down and ensure our sausage is nice and juicy. So just like with our ground meat, I'm going to cut this into strips first. This just makes it easier for the meat to go through the grinder. Okay, and we'll turn it this way and then just kind of cube it up like this. Okay, so this is kind of what you're going for. Now, one very important part of sausage making is getting the ratios of meat to your seasoning right, ensuring that sausage gets a nice and tight bond. And the best way to do that is to weigh out all the ingredients, including the meat. 2.5 pounds of beef is 1,143 grams. So let's weigh this out. Should be most of this because this was a little bit over 2.5 pounds of chuck roast. 1143, and we're at 1146. I mean, I think that's close enough. So we have this much beef left. I'm going to save this for Jax and just throw that into his dinner. So next up, we've got our pork. So this is a bone-in pork shoulder. You can, if you find a boneless one, you can use that instead. So this one has the shoulder bone running right through it. So I'm just going to cut some slices coming off this way. So similar to the beef, you can see you have that nice lean pork meat, you have the fat, you have all that marbling inside. So that should ensure a nice and juicy sausage. You know, ideally you want to go for an 80-20 lean to fat ratio with this pork. And this is a good way of kind of getting that without having to separate the meat from the fat and weighing everything out separately. 1143, exactly, perfect. So just like with the beef, I'm going to cut it into strips. And then we'll just cube this up. Alright, so we've got 2.5 pounds of pork, 2.5 pounds of beef. I'm going to put this in the freezer for about 30 minutes so it can firm up. That'll just make it easier for the meat grinder to cut through all the meat. Nothing's going to get clogged up. And then we'll continue on. Alright, next let's get the grinder set up. So I used this thing for the first time on our last video. Super easy to use. And here are all the parts. Now, I had this in the freezer for the last couple hours, so everything stays nice and cold. And this is the main thing that everybody talks about when making sausage. You want to be sure your equipment is cold, your meat is cold. That's why all that stuff is in the freezer. And here is our cubed up meat straight from the freezer. Nice and firm. There we go. I'm just going to drop these guys right in there. I'm going to alternate the beef with the pork. Oh yeah, look at that. That is looking nice. This is so easy to use. This grinder is awesome. Look at that, just working through that meat. First grind is done. Now I'm going to take this ground meat, put it back in the grinder. Oops, keep it all together. And we're going to grind it again. So this will help the sausage bind better. And it's still a pretty coarse grind, but it should just hold up much better this way. There we go. So our meat is ground and ready to go. Alright, next up, it's time to season up our meat and get it ready for the sausage. So I have my seasoning mix right here. I'm going to put all this in the description. This was all weighed out to the grams to kind of keep everything consistent, and I get all those ratios correct, but it's basically salt, garlic powder, onion powder. So let's just put all this into our mixture. One of the ingredients in that mix was this pink curing salt. So this is what's going to cure the sausage, and it's going to give it the kind of nice hammy flavor and the good texture while it's on the grill, especially because we're going to be smoking this super slow. And one other thing that I have to add is called, what is this? Sodium erythroborate. Because normally after you get the pink curing salt, you mix all this together and you put this in the fridge for about a day to allow this to take effect and start the curing process. This speeds that up, so I can add this to my mixture and the curing process is going to be almost instant. So let's add some of this accelerator, curing accelerator, and I'm going to have all these links in the description. All this is available on Amazon, and for this weight of meat and all these seasonings, it's only half a teaspoon of this accelerator. Okay, so that goes in, and then we also have some water, which has to be cold, so this will provide that additional moisture and juiciness to our sausage. You can add beer, you can add broth, all sorts of different liquids, but keeping it pretty simple just to see how it all comes together. So now I'm just going to start mixing, making sure everything gets well incorporated, the seasonings, that liquid gets absorbed. So now you just want to continue mixing everything until it starts to get sticky. So that's going to ensure a nice tight bond, meaning I'm going to put some on my hand. See, it sticks. That's pretty cool. Alright, so I guess that is working. I think this is ready to be cased. You can see that nice even distribution of that fat and the lean. It has this nice color from all the seasonings, and it smells really, really good. So here is my sausage stuffer. This is also from the company Meat, just like the grinder that I have. So first up, I'm going to fill this whole thing up with our sausage mix. So when you fill your stuffer, you want to be sure you kind of press in so there's no air bubbles in there, so it's nice and solid. So when we fill the casing, that's not going to have any air pockets. Okay, and this guy goes right here. We got this little handle on the back. So this is going to press out our sausage mixture. Oh, here it is. Look at that. There he goes. Okay, next, let's put this little tray underneath. We're going to add a little bit of water to keep everything lubricated so nothing tears. And here are my sausage casings. I also bought these on Amazon, and these come kind of dried and they sit in salt. So you want to soak them in water overnight, which is what I did. So here's the casing. I just put them in some cold water, put that in the fridge. Okay, find the opening, put 2 fingers in there and just kind of dip this in the water. So we're just going to run some water through it so it'll be easier to put this on the horn on our stuffer. Okay, there we go. I think that's stuffing, right? I'm not really sure how much of it I need. I don't have that much sausage in there. Okay, I'm just going to cut this guy right here. And we're going to tie a knot here at the end of our casing. And now it's time to stuff. We just want to kind of apply gentle pressure, and then we're going to monitor or just kind of feel for how thick this casing is getting filled. Okay, so I guess there's different methods you can try. You can either fill the whole casing and then make your links, but I think I'm just going to make my links right now. So let's just squeeze this guy right here. Okay, and we're just going to rotate. I think I got some casing in there, but that's okay. It's our first one. Okay, that's about the same length. So now we're gonna twist this one in the opposite direction. They look like little sausages. I mean, they are little sausages, but this is great. All right, so my sausage is stuffed, and it looks pretty good. I wiped the water from my tray here. Some of these definitely feel a little bit more plump than others. Some are a little bit more squishy, but you know, we'll see how it comes out. I think it should still be okay. Maybe the casing won't be as snappy. Now, when you do that kind of 3-day sausage making process, this ideally should go in the fridge overnight to dry out the casings, to help them get, you know, nice and snappy after they're smoked. But since I'm not doing this over 3 days, we're doing this all in one day. I'm going to pop this in the fridge for about 30 minutes to at least dry them out a little bit. I'll turn them over halfway through. Then we'll fire up the grill and finally smoke them. Let's talk about the cooking method for my sausages. So normally those are cold smoked, meaning you want to keep the temperature of your grill or smoker under 150 degrees, which prevents all that fat that's in the sausage from rendering out and just oozing out of the sausage and drying it out. And that's also one of the reasons why you put that curing salt in there, because it sits in that kind of food danger zone, so you don't want any bacteria to kind of develop or grow in that sausage. Bradley from Judd's Barbecue has an awesome video on kind of smoking a sausage using a pellet smoker and kind of doing this one-day process, so that's what I'm going to do today. I'm using my Weber pellet grill and this smoking tube that is filled with pellets. So I'm keeping the grill off because it doesn't go as low as I need it to be temp-wise. So I'm just going to put this smoke tube right there. Try to keep all those pellets in there. There we go. And just get this going, get a little flame there. So all this is going to do is keep the temperature super low, generate a lot of smoke, which will go on the sausage and get that nice smoky cured sausage flavor. If I were to actually fire up this grill and cook at the lowest temperature it goes, which is around 180, 200 degrees, all that fat will just render out, ooze out of the sausage, and just won't be as tasty. So using the smoke tube is a nice little trick to use this grill, get all that smoky flavor without having to worry about rendering too much of the fat out of the sausage. Sausage is out of the fridge, and you can see that the casing's dried up on the outside, so hopefully they get some nice and crispy when the sausage is cooked. We got this smoke box going. You can see all that smoke coming out, so I'm just going to put my sausages right here on the grate. Just want to make sure they're spread out so they can get that smoke on all the sides. I think that's looking pretty good. Let's close it up and we'll come back in a couple hours and check on them. Alright, so it's been about 5 hours or so. I flipped the sausages halfway through. I had to refill my smoke tube once because it only lasts about 2.5 hours. But look how much smoke is coming out of this thing. So let's take a look at our sausages. Ooh. I mean, I think that's looking pretty good. It's got a really nice color on the outside. Good, I think, for my first try. These are some pretty nice looking sausages. So the next step in this sausage making process is to actually cook them through. This cold smoking process just infused the sausages with that smoke, give them that beautiful color, but that meat inside is still pretty raw. So I'm going to fire up the pellet grill, get it up to about 200 degrees, and cook the sausages until they hit about 150 internal, making them safe to eat. I'm going to leave that smoke tube in there with some of those remaining pellets just to infuse a little bit more smoke into them, but this should take maybe, I don't know, 45 minutes to an hour, and our sausages will be almost ready. Alright, sausages reached 150 internal, and these guys are ready, so let's pull them off. Yeah, I think they're looking really nice. They plumped up, feel very good. That is a nice looking tray of homemade sausages. Check that out. Next step is to separate these sausages since they are all linked up. So these casings and they were twisted together. They have dried up, so we should be able to just cut them and get these nice little links. And they're getting dropped in this ice bath to shock them and to stop their cooking process. And this should firm up the casing even more, so they get nice and snappy when they are done. The next step is I'm going to remove them from the ice bath and just kind of wipe them down a little bit. So this will remove all that kind of soot and grease that was on the grate. And our sausages are ready to be stored. So now you can vacuum seal these, throw them in the freezer, put them in the fridge for a little bit. But what we're going to do, so I'm going to do that with some of these guys, but I really want to taste some of them. So I'm going to crank the heat up on the grill, throw a couple links back on to reheat them. I know it's kind of seems a little silly since they were just on the grill. We dropped them in the ice bath, but I guess it's all part of the process to get these casings nice and snappy and maximum flavor out of the sausage. So we're going to throw a couple of them back on, reheat them, and then try them out. See, look at all this kind of sootiness that's coming off those sausages. So it's important to clean them after they are smoked. Alright, so now we got these guys heated up. Oh, check these out. Now these are like super plump. All right, let's let's go test these out because I'm really excited to try them. So these three were that kind of second batch that I cased, and you can see these are much bigger, thicker, and more plump. This was the first one, so a little more shriveled up, not as big as these, but wow, I mean that like these, I still can't believe how good these sausages are looking. Let's just cut right into one of them. I'm gonna go into this one here. We'll do a this diagonal cut. Okay, let's see. So here is our sausage. I mean, I think that looks pretty good. That seems juicy, nice color. Let's try it out. It's really good. It's got really good flavor, really good seasoning. The texture is on point. Like it's kind of coarse, but it's very well kind of compacted, well combined. Smells has that really nice kind of smoky scent to it. But yeah, it just looks so good. Okay, one other thing I want to do, we're going to try to snap the casing to see how snappy it is and if it like kind of pops open or not, okay? So here we go. Look at that. I mean, that is a really nice sausage. It smells so good. Let's just take a bite and see if it's nice and snappy. Mmm. Oh yeah. It's got a very mild kick to it from the cayenne. It's garlicky, smoky, meaty. Mmm. Oh yeah. Really good. So quick, I guess, recap of this whole first time making sausage, smoking sausage at home. The process itself is not really complicated. There's just a lot of steps to it. So as I mentioned before, if you go to a barbecue restaurant, especially in Texas, these guys take 3 days to make this process. The first day, you cube and season your meat, let it cure overnight. The next day, you grind it and case it, let that sit overnight. And the third day, you smoke it. I did all this in 1 day using that accelerator for those nitrites, so you still get that nice smoky cured sausage flavor without having to wait all that additional time. But it took the entire day. Like, it's already dark outside. We started this in the morning and we are just finishing up. So keep that in mind if you're going to be doing this at home. If I were to do this next time, or I guess for sure I'm going to do this next time, I'm going to try different blends, like a garlic or a jalapeno cheddar sausage, different flavor combinations. I might actually split it up. I think it might be easier to do it over 3 days at home, so you're not, wasting a full day just cooking sausage. And definitely do more if you're going to be making this at home. Like making the 5 pounds that we did today, making an additional 5 or 10 pounds is not that much more work because you already got all the equipment out, the grinder, the stuffer, the smoker is going. So it makes sense to make these in larger batches. But otherwise, I mean, super flavorful, very tasty. Like, I'm honestly shocked at kind of how good this turned out. That it's kind of well combined, that casing super snappy. And be sure to follow all these other guys who I learned a lot of this stuff from. Chud's Barbecue, I'm sure a lot of you guys know his channel. He's got a lot of awesome sausage videos. The recipe that I used for the seasonings, the measurements, all from his page. Knox Avenue Barbecue also has some cool sausage tutorials on his channel. Tyler Hodge from Hoodoo Brown Barbecue in Connecticut, the undisputed sausage king of Connecticut. Thank you for all your help too. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you're going to be making some sausage at home, or if you have maybe some special recipes. I do want to try making a homemade Polish sausage, similar to what I kind of had back in Poland growing up, to see kind of how I can go about making that. But yeah, this was fun. I'm glad that I finally made it. I've been wanting to make sausage for the longest time, and this turned out much better than expected. So thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button, and I will see you next time. Oh yeah, it's really good.